Hey, everybody. Yep, it is Wednesday. Grab the popcorn and maybe today grab a margarita because of what we're talking about. But welcome to the Witch's Movie Coven. I am Patti Negri, one of your hosts for the day. And let me introduce you to our other hosts and participants. The beautiful Heather Graham right there. We have Jason Mankey right there. We have Courtney Buckley right there. And we talk movies. And this week we decided we're going to take, okay, three guesses. Midnight Margaritas. What movie are we going to talk about? Practical Magic. Practical Magic. One of my favorite movies, so we'll see if you guys like it or not. So please, everybody in the audience, go to the chat room. We want your opinions. We want your thoughts. We want your everything we have to do. But since I didn't do full introductions this week, we're still figuring this thing out. Why don't we go through everybody? Tell everybody what you want to tell them. So Jason, let's start with you today. How is your week? Who are you? What do you want to talk about?
Who am I? Where am I at? I'm Jason. I live in Silicon Valley, California. I write a lot of witchcraft books. My 9th book will be out in December, and I'm currently writing a biography of Raymond Buckland, who brought Gardnerian Wicca to the United States. So it's very exciting.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, Heather.
Hi, everyone. I'm back, and I am in the southern U.S. in the Atlanta metro area, and I am a religion journalist, and I am a editor. I work as an editor for Llewellyn, and I do a lot of media work for pagans, witches, and all kinds of other folk in the occult world. And I am happy to be here tonight to talk about practical magic. Oh, yes. Hold on. I wrote a book. Oh, this is why I'm here. And I almost forgot. Lights, Camera, Witchcraft, which is the book on, I wrote the book on witch film.
Yes, indeed. You wrote the book on witch film.
The
All right.
one.
Yes. And Courtney.
Hi. So I'm Courtney Buckley, also known as the Feems on all the social medias. I am in currently Massachusetts, very close to Salem. I work in Salem. I work for a tour company as a tour manager. So it's been a long month, and I'm very excited to be here with you guys, taking a break from all the madness that is Salem this month and talking about one of my favorite movies. I'm excited to see what you guys think.
So thank you. I am Patti Negri, your host. You might probably know me from my Witching Hour podcast or my Ghost Adventures or all my TV stuff because I am smack dab in the middle of Hollywood. And I love that you guys are putting where you're from. Hello, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Hello, Albuquerque. This is kind of fun. So again, I did grab a margarita because, again, one of my favorite movies. I don't know if anybody, Heather's got it too. So if you have time, grab one. Otherwise, let's talk practical magic. Okay, since Heather, you kind of know the facts and stuff like that, let's start with you.
Sure. This is a 1998 movie. It came out it's a nice capper on the 1990s, which started with a lot of problematic films in the representation of witchcraft, as we've talked about in other episodes. A lot of the Satanic Panic remnants, and it started out there, switched over in 1996, and then we got a lot of positive turnarounds and positive representations. And I always feel like practical magic is kind of like the happy capper of the entire decade. It's a total turnaround for better or worse. It's a rom-com. The fun thing about this movie is it's got an all-star cast, of course, which everybody loves at least one of the actors, and there are multiple actors. It's light, it's fun. It has a lot of things to discuss in terms of history and witch films. But the one thing that's really always interesting that I like to talk about is that the film did not do well. I'll say that a lot about a lot of the witch films. The film did not do well. As much as we much loved it and we went to it, we laughed and everything, it didn't. And the director, Griffin Dunn, was convinced, he was so embarrassed, according to the stories, but he was convinced that a witch that was on set doing consultation had hexed the film. And that's why it didn't do well. Did that actually happen? We don't know. So the story goes that she was angry about the compensation for her work and then hexed the film. That's the lore. But it's kind of always a little fun to talk about.
Is she somebody that's known? Like, we would know the name of this witch? Does she ever comment on that, or was it a secret witch?
I have yet to. I did when I was digging research. I could not find her name. I tried multiple ways to try to figure out who it was and if the facts were true, and I could never get confirmation to my satisfaction. As a journalist, I kind of like to have hardcore evidence that this actually happened. So who it was. If that person is listening or knows who it was, I'd love to know. But so far, all I know is that it was the lore from what's told about the film. That's all I know. And Griffin Dunn was upset.
Wow. Okay, I see something that keeps popping up. Did somebody just see you in a documentary, Heather?
I've been in a couple. I was in one that was produced in France. I don't know if it's been released in the US. It's about witches in Hollywood, but it was a French documentary. I'm in that one. And then I'm also in one about The Conjuring, which was in Canada. I don't know if it's aired here. So if you see me in something else, I'd really like to know what it is.
I know.
Please.
One of the things they never tell you. They never tell you. I mean, the TVs, the films, that you have to hear from your friends, like, oh, I just saw you on TV. It's like, really? No one told me. So yeah, let Heather know. Let all of us know when you see us popping up at weird places that no one tells us about. Again, let's go to you, Jason, because you often are different thoughts on this than us.
I like the movie, but the movie is a mess. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it a romantic comedy? Is it a horror film? Is it about sisterhood and female empowerment? It has all of those elements, but it's never just one of those things. So there are really jarring tonal shifts in the movie. Now, I love this movie. I think about it a lot. I love Sandra Bullock. I love Nicole Kidman. So I don't hate it by any means. But if I wasn't a witch, I probably wouldn't like it as much because of the unevenness of the film.
Really? Because they just didn't know what it was, if it's a horror, if it's a romantic comedy or a love story,
You'll kind of go around, like, from the bad, evil, terrible boyfriend coming back to life and possessing people, and then, oh, everything's great and we're having fun. It doesn't know what it wants to be, which is really strange for a movie, especially a movie that they had invested $75 million in, which was a lot, especially in 1998.
So do you think that it wasn't cursed? It was just like a badly put together movie?
Yes.
Not blaming some witch?
Yeah. And again, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, I always like to look at the reviews on places like that about a lot of the movies that we all love. Hocus Pocus wasn't very well reviewed. This movie wasn't very well reviewed either. And I think that has a lot to do with perhaps its disappointing box office.
Okay. Courtney.
I know. I always feel like the curmudgeon on this show.
No, this is great. No, we're getting to
last week it was me. I mean, let's be real. But it just, first of all, Heather, that little piece of lore, I was today years old when I found that out. That's so exciting. But Jason, to your point, like, I feel like I loved this movie when I knew I loved movies before I knew I was a witch. And I loved it so hard that when I finally came into my own and became comfortable calling myself a witch, watching that movie now to me feels like coming home. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's just a comfort thing for me or what. I love Sandra Bullock. I love Nicole Kidman. But it's just, maybe it's just the raging ADHD that I have, but like, I love that it goes everywhere. Because I was never bored and I can watch it. It's one of those movies that I can watch over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what time of year. Like Hocus Pocus, for me, as much as I love it, usually it just gets kept to the fall for me because I don't have the patience for it elsewhere. But this movie I can watch anytime, whenever I need comfort, whenever I need that feeling of sisterhood that, maybe missing in my true life. I can watch that and feel those feelings that I'm missing when I see it. So varying opinions for me from last week. But
I'm with you, Courtney. I never saw anything that didn't match. They're my favorite. I love everybody in it. Nicole and Sandra, of course. Even the love interest, Aiden. I've always kind of had a crush on him when he first showed up. Just like, I don't know what he's done with himself. I think he still kept working. But, and then the aunts. Oh, we have the aunts. We have the wise aunts. Oh my God, Diane Wiesitz. And it didn't matter to me. I didn't go, oh, is this a love story, or is this a horror story, or is this or sisterly? I just was engrossed in it. The sisters, the real humanity. Somebody put up on the board, thank you. Oh, it shows you the danger of love spells. It's a what you do kind of movie, and I don't know. I can't complain about it at all.
Okay, I understand what Jason was saying. The discombobulation of parts of it, because there are some aspects that feel a little disjointed, which I think, especially how dark it does try to get it, or it does sort of go in that one dark direction at one point. But for me, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't smooth. Speaking as a film person, it didn't feel smooth, but I didn't care. And I think for me, just as a person that was watching it, whether a witch and a woman, I felt that this was a story about the difficulties and the back and forth of the women, the relationship with the aunts, the relationship with magic, the relationship with the sisters. Really, it's an overlay of magic, even though it's just the differences in the sisters, the wanting love. It's a rom-com that focuses on the women and the women's interactions. And it did get a little dark, and I think that was the attempt to whip magic into it and make it a little more spicy, because if you're gonna have magic, you gotta have some kind of seance and candles and brooms. That's my favorite scene, by the way, when they come in there with all those brooms from all the townspeople. That is so fantastic. I loved watching it. It's fun. For me, it's fun.
Me too.
And I'm a diehard romantic too, so yeah.
Go, Jason.
I would love to take the movie and edit about 20 minutes out of it, and then it would just have all the scenes that I like and none of the scenes that I don't like. Like I
Which
get
one
rid of.
don't you like?
What don't you
like?
I could have done without, like, I love the women coming together with the brooms, and I love the ritual. I don't love the possession in the middle of it, at the very end of it, because tonally it just feels like we've had this happy moment. We've got the coven together, and then we're trying to go into this horror place, and I just don't think it fits. And like the elements that I really love about the movie are the bonds between the sisters, are the crazy aunts, because they're amazing and they're great in that movie. Those are the parts that I like. And then there's this other kind of side story that I just don't like as much.
Yeah, they went a little bit too far, too dark with that aspect of it, is what I'm hearing. And I think that's probably when I think about it, yes, they did probably go a little bit too far with that possession aspect of it. But that's the tension there.
That's the tension. Yeah, that didn't bother me. I went with it. I always stayed in the film, because some films, if they're really badly done, you don't stay in the film and you're looking at what's going wrong with it. So whatever good or bad, I stayed in the film. I like what Haley wrote. She just wrote she likes it because it practices the way we do, showing dancing in the moonlight and things like that. So it had some nice little crafty moments to it. I must say, yeah, the way we do, dancing under the moon, book of spells, midnight margaritas, exactly, herbs, signs, broom falling. Yeah. And I must say, a couple years ago, just before it became a TV show on Travel Channel and Discovery, with my friend Dave Schrader and Cindy Keza, I went to Butte, Montana. They actually brought me out there to figure out why there was so much going on, like literally like suicides and this and that. The second I got off the plane, I figured it out, and it was because it was a mining town. It was the metals underground, and it was the toxicity, and it was everything was heightened by it. But literally, we took this one. It was an old church, and no one liked it. It was very, very haunted. It looked like everybody thought there was a body hanging from the steeple. There wasn't a body hanging, but something had happened there really, and it got a bunch of negative energy. We literally turned it into the new LGBTQI center of Butte, Montana. And we had like the 6-8 people coming up, transgender people, gay people, straight people, news people from the local. And we did that. We basically, nobody had a dustbuster, but we were so close to being that. And all I could think about, we are living practical magic. We are living, bringing these people together who weren't necessarily witchy, who just wanted to do this great thing. And, I don't know. I've seen possessions. I've seen weird stuff like that. So that didn't bother me.
Can I touch back on something that Tabitha Meadows said? She said, I love the aunties and the wardrobe. And I rewatched this movie. I've seen it 100,000 times, but I rewatched it yesterday on purpose in preparation for this. And I paid attention to things that I wouldn't normally pay attention to because I knew we'd be talking about it. So things like the wardrobe, like I tried to nitpick and I tried to find something that I could talk about that, maybe I didn't love, but everything down to their hair, the wardrobe, the ending. I am the biggest cynic. I'm a love cynic for one. So I can see myself in Sandra Bullock's character sort of in the beginning doing that spell. The ending for me was just amazing with them embracing, the stories about them and jumping off the roof on Halloween. Like I loved that. But like even the wardrobe, like Tabitha said, like just everything, their flowy shirts and, it was so natural to me. And I could relate to so many different things in the movie, so many different characters and so many different scenes. I think it was really well done. And I get the criticism, but this time I can't agree with it.
No.
I've got a couple more too. I'm going to bring out.
I want to hear them.
Go.
What are the other?
Yeah, well, there's some strange things in the movie if you really think about the small town that they live in and how they're sort of picked on and called witch and are kind of shunned by the community, right? So you live in that city and then you're going to open up an herbal shop and expect the people of that city to come in and buy things? Like that seemed very strange to me, and it didn't make any sense.
It was a bath shop. It was the bath thing.
Bath and Body Works.
They were clearly selling like magical things there, right? They're telling how to use herbs in a very magical way. So on one hand, they're hated by the whole town, but the town goes in and buys things at their shop. I just didn't understand that. Like that wasn't explained to me. And then why wouldn't you move? Like if the whole town hates you and there's this legacy, I know you have a great house, but maybe you would move.
No, people. And if you can get a really good shampoo or a body lotion, you'll go anywhere. Really.
Well, and here's the thing. Just to point out, and maybe Courtney can speak to this in Salem.
I was about to say.
I've interviewed and done articles on metaphysical stores throughout the country to specifically done a bunch that get attacked. They're in areas that are in very conservative locations. North Carolina, I can think of one who says that this particular person lives in a town that's so tiny and so conservative in all respects that the shop exists, and they still come. They'll go from their religious meetings, and then they'll come and buy and say they don't like witchcraft, this, that, but then come buy crystals and come buy oils and come buy stuff at the metaphysical store and leave. They will do that. So yeah, maybe the context isn't there, Jason, to explain that aspect, because that's a good point, but that's actually happens. So I don't know. That's what I was saying. Courtney might know.
I think also it speaks, like coming from Salem and knowing the history of Salem and all that, it speaks, I think, to the history of witches, where women in real life, not in a movie, who did things like healing with herbs and things from the garden and helped like put salve on a cut or whatever to prevent an infection, they were considered witches and persecuted for that. So I think, to me, and I mean it's probably just my biased interpretation of it doing what I do, but that to me felt very much along those lines, where it's like, she could sort of hide in that, like, look, they weren't witches, neither am I, kind of a shadow, while doing what she does,
Yeah.
What else are you eliminating?
I like this. I want to hear.
I'm curious. I want to know.
Yeah, we do.
You're on.
You know me pretty well, Heather, and you know that I do not like witchcraft as a genetic condition. That always bothers me. And it's kind of implied in the movie, like you're born a witch through blood. And I really have never liked that idea at all.
Really?
Yeah, that's in so
Yeah.
many movies. I mean, that's one of the tropes. That's one of the types of witches. And usually when there's good witches, that's the movie trope, is that they're born it. It explains their power. It's natural. You know, you have the bad witches, the ones who learn it through ceremony and rote and you know, the ones that learn it through education. They usually are in the horror films. The ones who are good witches typically have it more natural, born witches, like Samantha, like the charmed witches, like, you know, Willow, for example.
Yeah. Oh, Jason, I'm one of those people who thinks it's in my blood. Honestly, wait, we've lost him. He left us. Oh no. Hopefully he'll come back. I was one of those people who was in my little suburban Los Angeles home in the backyard picking my mom's rosemary and my mom's mint and stuffing it in her wallet, telling her it would give her more money. I really do think it was in me. You know, not that my mom was a witch or my grandma was a witch. I just think that earth connection was.
I think, I mean, oh, he's back, so he can speak to us. I was about to try to explain what you meant by that in that relation, but go ahead now that you're here.
Yeah, no, all I said, Jason, you missed it, is that I am one of those people who thinks it's in the blood. Not that my mom was a witch or my grandma, though my mom always said grandma did that too. But I was in the backyard picking the herbs and things and stuffing them in my mom's purse or putting them here to do stuff just naturally.
I think he froze again.
He's froze.
Well, from what I understand, I'll just speak to that, is that there's, you know, within the witch community, there's almost like a gatekeeping when it comes to this concept of whether you're born, whether it's genetic, whether it's in your blood, whether it's learned, and there's it creates sort of, it can create sort of this negative community experience, because, you know, who's to say who's a better witch, who's to say who's a natural witch, and is someone who's learned it better than someone whose grandmother was a witch. So we don't want to create those, and I think that's what Jason is speaking to, and he says, I don't like that. It's that concept that you have to be born into it in order to be a witch, and in movies it is the way it is, but, you know, in real life it's a little problematic, and I think that's what Jason was hinting at. Now he's back again. Maybe I was totally off. Yes. Am I wrong?
Yes, I think you know what I'm coming at. I just think that there can be abuse when we use blood as a factor, and I'm a big believer in witchcraft as a reincarnation cult. So I believe that I was a witch in a previous life. I believe all of you were witches in previous lives, and that we knew each other, which is why we do the show together, because you know, we're like all looking for each other all the time. But I don't know. I
do too, but I still think the fact that nobody taught me what to do with herbs, and I just knew naturally, whether that's blood. Like I said, my mom wasn't a witch, my grandma wasn't a witch, except like some of the gifted stuff, but whether it's because we all knew each other in a past life, I don't think it's a judgment thing, like, oh, I'm better than you because I studied my whole life as well. So that's funny. That's so interesting. Okay, go on.
I'm gonna go back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mind if people, you know, think it's like in their blood or whatever, or it's genetic or anything else. Like, everybody can think whatever they want. I just worry that it could be abused is all. So it's never like my favorite trope. And I understand that it's often a part of witch movies. I mean, we see it in Hocus Pocus. We've seen a lot of witch movies. And it's not like I get up and start yelling at the screen and giving them a lecture or anything. It's really okay. I feel like I'm being like too negative tonight, and I don't really mean to be, because I like this movie. No. I mean, I really do like this movie. Like, Sandra Bullock is amazing in it.
Yeah. They all are. No, and you're not being too negative. We love this, actually.
Yeah. Listen, well, I'll bring something up that I have a problem with this film, and then I have something else I was going to say, Patti, based on what you said earlier. But I talk about in my book how as we get through the late 90s, there's this strong effort in these witch movies to sort of sanitize witchcraft. We wind up with a girl power and mostly white middle class, white upper middle class. So we wind up with this, the movies doing it, I'm talking about here. The movies are really creating this sanitized version of witchcraft. What can exist, here is where witchcraft can exist. They use the word Wicca to do it, for example. Differentiate it from witchcraft. So this movie really shows that. It capitalizes on that. You have a metaphysical shop that looks like Bath and Body Works. It's very clean. Metaphysical shops that I know of do not look like that. You have this sense of, look, it's normal. These people live mostly normal lives outside of Midnight Margaritas. So there's sort of what I call a whitewashing of witchcraft. It's the moving of the goalpost saying, okay, witchcraft is okay, but only if it's done in this little box in this way. So it fits into a normative structure, a normative understanding of our culture. So I talk about that in the book. And so that's one of the things I'm like, they do get into the sort of the darker stuff. They do get into some of the messy stuff with the seance, well, not the seance, with the ritual they do at the end when they're trying to remove the demon. But it really makes witchcraft, they're trying to normalize it almost too much. Because ultimately witchcraft, is something that's a rebellion in a way. We all know that. There's a rebellion aspect of it. How normalized can you get? So that may be a little bit too much for this discussion, but I talk about this in my book, and that's the one thing that bothered me about this. I'm like, yeah, you're going a little bit too far with that normalization of witchcraft. So that is my quid. And then I just have to say, Aidan Quinn was working after this film, and he was in another witch movie in the 2000s.
He was? What was his other witch movie? I think he's so cute. Yeah.
The Last Keepers, and I it's one of my favorite little films. It's a cute little teen film, and I love it. You have to watch it. The Last Keepers. I can't see the chat anymore for some reason, but I recommend, if you haven't seen The Last Keepers, go watch it. It's so adorable.
I'll do that.
I'm writing it down right now.
Me too. I didn't know that one.
Nobody knows that one, and it's such a shame. It's such a cute little movie.
Okay, The Keepers. We will check it out.
The Last Keepers.
The Last Keepers. Okay, that looks good. And again, maybe that might be the normalization and whitewashing of witchcraft, because depending on where you live. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and it was kind of normal, even in my generation. Even, we had great witchcraft shops that were called witchcraft shops from the Eye of the Cat in Long Beach on up. They weren't as clean as that, though. They did not look like a Bed Bath and Beyond. They always smelled of cat. I for a long time thought a witchcraft shop that was a real witchcraft shop, not metaphysical, had to have a cat. They didn't change the litter enough. But we're over that.
I think Jason's back again.
He is. Hi.
Nope.
He's coming back.
He's gone again.
Oh, that's funny. Maybe he can't hear us. Maybe he can.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. There he is.
There he is.
There he can hear us. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
There you're back.
It's I think I'm cursed tonight. I think, maybe somebody's mad at me for not being 100% complimentary of the film, and I'm dealing with extra technical issues as a result.
No, otherwise Courtney would have had issues last week. That
Right.
was her.
Big time. Yeah.
It's
And
okay. We're all gonna have a film that we don't, mine was Hocus Pocus 1. It's not my film. But hey.
And we'll find one for me. I'm sure we will.
I will watch this film anytime. I do like this film, but I'm playing the curmudgeon role tonight. I'm taking over for Courtney.
Good enough.
Oh, it's nice to have a break.
And I don't know. I just keep on the witchcraft movie that I like going the humanity of stuff. Like even when they're at the PTA meeting and she never gets picked, and then the sister, the naughty, sexy sister shows up. I just love that. Oh, that was me. That wasn't me. That was me.
That was a great scene. That was a really great scene. I did like that one. There's moments in these movies this movie that was very good. But it's a soft rom-com in the end with a little bit of witch flavor. So I think that's why it didn't do so well. I don't think anyone hexed it. And if she did hex it, I think someone said in the chat earlier, it didn't work because it's survived. I mean, people love this movie. They love to watch it because it's just so cute. The ants always come up as two of the most popular witch characters in all of witch films.
Do they?
Yeah.
I think
They do.
too, like one thing that I really loved about them is that like when the sisters messed it all up and they found out about it, they were like, bye. We're out of here and you figure it out because we want nothing to do with this. And I love that it wasn't like, the older, more knowledgeable, mothery auntie figures didn't just swoop in to save the day. They were like, nope, not our circus, not our monkeys. We'll be on vacation. Like, see you later. And then, they always, of course, have impeccable timing when they come back. But there's watching this movie again. I haven't seen it probably for about a year, but watching it again the other night, I was smiling the whole time I was watching it. Just like all the, like Patti, that scene that you just brought up where she's like, that was me. Like, just those lines were so good. And there was another one I can't remember right off the top of my head. I made it a mental note, which my brain is like Swiss cheese in October. So, but there was so many good like one-liners in this movie. Just I loved it, and I appreciate Jason's take on it. And I think I have to say, if there's one part that I would take out, it would be that I liked the ghost coming out like of her body on the bed when the investigator was there, but the scene at the end when they've just had all the ladies come together and then she's dying on the floor, that seemed very drastic for me, to get to that point where it was like, I feel like a real possession doesn't take 7 minutes. It's a lot more involved than that. So the fact that she was on the brink of death, I think, hold on to your husband. But yeah, the fact that she was like on the brink of death and they were talking about, but I can see why that was there to bring back that, blood oath that they'd made to each other, that they were going to die together in their old age. But I think it was a drastic way to do it. So Jason, I'll give you that one, but you can't have any of the other ones.
I have one more critique. We're watching the movie. It's 1998. And there's one point where Nicole Kidman is smoking in the kitchen with the children around. And I'm like, not in front of the children. I mean, I think that was what I yelled at the television. Because today it's very, very jarring.
Yeah, it is. It's a good point.
But the soundtrack too, like let's not sleep on the soundtrack here. Faith Hill, this kiss, like please. It couldn't have been better. Well, maybe it could have been a little bit better, but I don't see how it just fit. That song, every time I hear it, that's what I think about is this movie.
Yeah, I think it's one of those movies that it's not it's not going to win Academy Awards. It's not a perfect technical film. It's not going to be there, but it's one of those films people love it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's not, a Godfather level filming extravaganza or storytelling extravaganza. It's just telling its story, and it's just people just love it. They just, it told its story well, even if it's clunky or discombobulated or it has things that are a little bit weird. But it told its story well because people keep going back.
Life is clunky. People keep, it's so funny. I'm reading the thing and we'll get there. Everybody going, Wizard of Oz, and Harry Potter. We are going to get to a Harry Potter section and talking all about all the Harry Potters. And for Wizard of Oz, that's for next week. Just saying, that's... And everybody better love it. That's all I can say. Everybody better love Wizard of... No, you can have your own opinions about it.
I have a huge list of criticisms about the Wizard of Oz. That is actually not true. I'm just...
Jason, I see somebody, Scarlet and Gray Witch is saying, Jason, you must have been floored by the smoking in Stranger Things.
I've only watched the first 2 seasons. It didn't really work for us, but I did grow up in that period of time, so I kind of expected it if it was going to be true to then. But 1998 seemed like pretty late for smoking in the kitchen around children. I was surprised. I'm also surprised in The Craft when I rewatched that. If we're going to talk about this, like the kids are still in high school and they're smoking inside the house I remember when I was in high school, people would hide that from their parents and had to go outside. So I thought that seemed like another little strange thing. It's just weird things that you notice when you watch movies sometimes.
Jason, 2 seasons of Stranger Things, you're gonna get Vecna'd right into the Upside Down.
Yeah, probably.
I Courtney, yes. 2 seasons.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah, it's kind of drug for us. I guess now we're talking about a different show, but.
Okay, we're gonna have a chat, Jason.
Yeah. I'm gonna unfollow you on Instagram for that one, actually. So.
Well, Ellen Graywitz says they actually smoked in their college classroom, and I'm way in school before in '98, but we did smoke out the window. But we did smoke. I think it's that rite of passage. Hopefully, that's gone now. I'm not.
I think in 1998 it was pretty much passe. It is an odd thing, but I think that marked her as being a rebel the way she was. So it definitely did color her character. Whereas Stranger Things took place in the 80s when everybody was smoking everywhere. I was just actually describing that to one of my kids, and she was shocked. What? People smoked everywhere. I'm like, yeah, in restaurants, airplanes, anywhere you went, and that was the 80s. I think it wasn't until the 90s that it started to peter out. So by 98, yeah, that is a good point.
It is a thing though in movies. You can always tell who the bad guy is by who's smoking. That's all. Or the rebel,
cue.
or the rebel. It is sort of your hint, like about this character.
And that used to not be the case, which is interesting. Just to be movie nerdish, it was back in the 40s, the 30s, 40s, and 50s when smoking was a regular thing accepted socially. Smoking had different connotations in the movies. You'd have a leading male, have a leading female might pick a cigarette up and ask for the leading male to light it. This was an interaction, an attraction. There was a underplaying commentary that was happening between the characters with that. So it had a very different connotations. There was different exchanges with cigarettes back then. Now it's like you said, it's a cue for evil characters or rebellious, culture's everything when it comes to movies.
Yeah, like in the redone versions of The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch always goes to Marlboro country, when everybody walks in.
We don't talk about redone versions of The Wizard of Oz.
When they don't exist. There's only one.
There's only one. Some things are sacred. Just saying.
Haley pointed out the phone tree thing, the phone tree meeting, and then using the phone tree, which is another kind of anachronism, right? Like, does that happen anymore? Now we just put a note up on social media, and then we're done. Right. I've done my part. I don't have to do anything else.
Well, I remember being a kid, I think I was 12 when this movie came out, and in my elementary school we used to get every year we'd get a class phone book, and it would have all of the kids in our class in it with all of their home phone numbers, not cell phones because we didn't have those, but their home phone numbers. So if you wanted to have a play date, you would just go to your phone book and you would call the house on the phone. And the kids don't now you have to go through teachers and everything. Trying to make a play date with a kid at my son's school is like pulling teeth because you have to go through 12 different people to get there. But I think that's so cool. It's such a nice reminder of what that used to be like. Mm-hmm. And I love how they quickly everybody dropped everything and just were like, yeah, this is the call we've been waiting for. Let's go do some witchcraft.
Bring your brooms.
Yeah, let's see what this is all about. We get to see the inside of their house. Let's go.
Yeah. And a great house, by the way.
Oh, yes. That greenhouse.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's a fun movie. It's a sweet movie. It's light. It's fun to watch. It's good for this time of year, too.
Have any of you...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say real quick that I really also... I think my favorite part of the movie is the subtle magic. They're not always just using magic to fight the bad guy or to curse the city. It's the stirring of the coffee or the blowing of the candle, all those subtle little things that are very visual and very sweet and just without thought, that I think makes that movie feel magical to me, because it does, it is in our everyday, and it's not just about taking down the bad guy.
Right.
There were maybe even more than the craft. I mean, the magic really feels like things that we all do. which I really appreciate. And you're watching it and going, yeah, we do that, or we do something very similar to that. There are a few times I can't fly off of my roof or anything, but a lot of the things they're doing are like really easy pieces of magic.
Well, yeah, because it's intention and energy, and they don't do the big. They're not trying to do these big ceremonies like you see in a lot of movies. This big schmaltzy stuff that goes on. It's just simple, everyday magics that most witches do in their everyday lives. Whether they're pulling into a parking lot hoping they get a space, or whether they're starting some kind of morning routine. With some kind of ritual or some kind of prayer or spell. So yeah, in that way and that's why I think it's called practical magic. It's everyday folk magic. It's the magic we do each day to enchant our lives, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was also going to ask if any of you have read the books. I know that there are 3
really
books now
want
in the
to.
series.
No, were they different? Were they a lot different, or?
I haven't read them either, which is why I was asking. I know people who have, and it's just one of those things I always think I'm going to get around to, and then, like Heather's book comes out or something else, and then I have to read that instead.
I in most of the movies I've read or I talk about that have books, I have read a good portion or all of them, and this one is one that I did not. I skimmed it to go through check for some stuff, but I did not actually wind up reading this one. Which is probably a shame. I should go back and read it. I have it.
I've wanted to for a really long time. I feel like I always love the book more than the movie, but I usually try to read the book before I see the movie because otherwise the book is tainted. But for this particular one, I love the movie so much that I am almost afraid to read the book because I don't want to change that experience for me.
That's good. I see that both Patricia wrote Book is So Different, and Haley wrote, I guess Patricia wrote it all. That it is very, very different. So I'm afraid to read it too because I like it. I don't want everybody to change. They're just fine as they are.
I feel like maybe if I gave it a couple, like if I could hold off watching the movie again for a couple of years and like sort of let it leave my brain a little bit and then pick up the book and kind of convince myself that it was something entirely different, I might be able to do it. But I've wanted to, but that's what's held me back from doing it.
Okay, that's good. Curse is much different. I'm reading people's things, so I guess if we're gonna do wands up or wands down, I couldn't find my real wand, so I've got a dachshund stick. So wands up for me.
I couldn't find my real one, so I have a human femur. And wands up for me.
It's still up for me. I'm critiquing the film, but it's still definitely a wands up for me.
Can I do 2 up?
2 wands up. I had my other wands put away. I would do 2 wands up if I had the second one out, but I don't.
Yeah, so. I've lost mine, but a dachshund's up counts for 2. So everybody, I guess we need to watch Wizard of Oz for next week. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be
twist
fun.
My arm. Watch it again. What?
I know. So I don't know what we should bring with us for that. Like
pointy
this one.
Hats.
Pointy hats.
I can do that.
But I can't put on my whole Glenda dress. It is so big. What I actually, I have it. And if you want to make a Glenda dress, go find a 1980s wedding gown and pink it up.
Oh, that's right.
You got a Glenda gown because that's what I have. I like thrift store 80s, the big hair, and the pulled in hair, and then you put the thing, and I've got Glenda.
I can't promise that I won't show up next week with green face paint on.
Okay.
I can't promise I will not.
We're going to be less than a week from Halloween itself, so do it.
And if I can find, go on, a flying monkey for my dog.
I was in a stage production of The Wizard of Oz when I was a small child.
Really? So what'd you play?
I was a munchkin because all the kids in 1st and 2nd grade were munchkins, and we all had to choose a job, and I was the archaeologist munchkin because I wanted to be Indiana Jones as a small child. So hopefully I can dig up some of those pictures of me with short hair in my archaeologist costume dancing on stage.
Listen, bones up for archaeologist munchkins.
Yes, bones up. Dogs
Up
and
for archaeology munchins.
long time.
I support your dreams, Jason.
Thank you.
I love that.
I just became a witchcraft archaeologist. It's fine.
I love that.
That's
It all
true.
worked out.
I love that.
Yeah,
so
you're the-
we are getting close to Halloween, or Samhain, as many of us celebrate. I don't know if that's anything we want to talk about this week or next week or not at all. Okay, Heather, you're the expert. Is Samhain ever represented in movies other than as Halloween?
I think the word's been mentioned here and there, but in my, not in a positive light necessarily. I know that in like The Last Keepers, they do a ritual during, I think it's a summer ritual, if I remember correctly. You hear Beltane, you hear a few other ones. Most of the time you hear of any of the Sabbats or these celebrations, they're in folk horror movies, because they're related to folk horror and weird seasonal festivals with all kinds of stuff. You think of The Wicker Man and stuff like that, folk horror. I know it's been used. I think there's been a couple horror movies that have used it, but it's really not something that people talk about. It's not prominent.
Okay.
Is it in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
I think
it
so.
is.
Yeah, that's what I'm
one of
talking.
my
It's mentioned. It just had a big. There was all over Twitter Halloween Season of the Witch. It was trending all over Twitter for like 3 days.
Well, it has that great song like 6 more days till Halloween, 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 6 more days till Halloween, Silver Shamrock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't put us in a good light, or Druids for that matter, or even Stonehenge. But it's such a ridiculous movie that I find it very fun.
And speaking of ridiculous, I know we talked about it last week, but still it's funny. All of the hocus pocus stuff that's coming up. Saturday Night Live did a really cute sketch. I think the two Texas moms talking about the devil and Satan coming in, and
Oh my god.
Very funny.
yeah, it was
funny.
very funny.
They do.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to look it up.
You have to. It's very funny. It's a good laugh.
Satan. Now we're going to go see Wicked,
Yeah, can we talk about that next week too? We're going to talk about all the witches of the Wizard of Oz stuff. But
Yes.
But I think most of the movies most of the movies talk about Halloween, which is the fun thing, and they just relate that. Mostly, of course, we also have Day of the Dead coming up. I just was talking with someone about that, so that has a relationship to all of this as well, to the time, which is fun for the people that celebrate that holiday. So we have that in the mix as well.
Yep, we have many, many, many things in the mix. Okay, so before we go, you guys, we thank you, everybody who's jumping in. We can't talk about American Horror Stories Coven. Yeah, we can talk about American Horror Stories Coven, and we will. We're going to get into television. We're going to get into everything. It's just so much to choose from. So that is something we will put on our list as well. We just wanted to get through Halloween with Halloween-y type things.
Yeah. I think... Says raise our wands for Robbie Hagrid, and I just saw that. So there you go. Maybe we'll talk about more about him when we do Harry Potter, I guess.
That seems that's like a Yuletide series of films, right? I mean, we're like saving those for December.
Yeah, we'll save those for after Halloween. Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. And Blair Witch Project, we talked a little bit about it, our first episode, Blair Witch, I think. So you got to come back. You can watch our older ones. They are up on YouTube. They are up on Facebook, on our Facebook page. So yeah, go back and check it out. But we'll go over everything else again too, because this is good. Harry Potter is exhausting.
Sorry, that made me snort.
Courtney's shocked. I think no, she isn't frozen.
I'm not. My heart is frozen. The store that I work out of in Salem, we have 3 different shop fronts on Essex Street, which is the main drag there in Salem, and one of them is a Harry Potter shop. There's all Harry Potter merchandise, and then the store right next door is a wand shop that's modeled after Ollivander's. So I live and breathe Harry Potter, and I have since I was a kid, and so that it is not exhausting. My opinions about it will be exhausting, I bet, because I'm going to be up on my soapbox.
Okay, we have something to look forward to. Okay, so before we go, everybody tell everybody where you can find you, anything you have coming up that people might be interested, either live or online. Let's go to you first, Courtney, this week. Where can people find you? What's going on?
So you can find my personal socials. I am at the Femes, which is short for femur, on all the various social medias, on TikTok, Instagram, on Twitch. I've been doing the most on Twitch lately. I play horror video games with some friends and try to scare the pants off each other, and that's a lot of fun. And you can also watch me as Ghostbait on Scared and Alone, which you can find at Scared Alone Live on various socials and scaredandalone.com. Or if you happen to be walking around the city of Salem and you want to come visit me at my little booth and buy some tickets for a ghost tour, you can do that too. So that would be where I work for Salem Night Tour. So it's salemghosttours.com.
And now's the time to go.
Actually, now is not. Can we talk about that for a second real quick?
Okay. Don't go.
It is not the time to go without a plan. We, a couple years ago, set the record for how many people visited, and it was on Halloween, and there was 100,000 people. And they've instituted this new technology that counts how many people come to visit Salem. 2 weeks ago on Saturday, it was 80,000 people on that one day. And then they just released the numbers today for this past Saturday, 101,000 people. And we still have time before Halloween.
Wow.
So go in November?
Go in November or make a plan before you come.
Okay. All right.
And don't drive.
Okay. All right. Jason.
I'm Jason Mankey. I'm like on all the social medias, usually at Pan Mankey, which is my last name, but with the word Pan in front of it. And in December, I will be in Ohio, of all exciting places, at Witch Lab on December 8th and 9th, and then at the Buckland Museum in Cleveland on December 10th, as I launch the Modern Witch's Guide to the Greek Gods or something. I always forget the titles of my own books, but it's about the Greek gods and witchcraft. So, yeah, I'll be traveling soon, which is very exciting.
Yay, check them out. Okay, and Heather.
Hi, you can find all of my socials, links, and what I'm up to at my website, heathergreene.net. And I am currently, when I'm not buried behind a manuscript and working with amazing authors, I am writing articles covering the occult, witchcraft, Satanism, and all kinds of things in that realm for Religion News Service. And I have articles in other places as well, religionnews.com. So you can find my articles there if you like to see what other people are up to. And I am currently in, as I said, Atlanta, where people celebrate Halloween and trick or treat on odd days during the week before because they don't want to disrupt the kids. But I'll be the one out there on Halloween because the only day for trick or treating and celebrating Halloween is October 31st. So I'm always the one who's pushing for that. So, but down here, you never know when the trick or treating is going to be.
Really? Thank you so much. My neighborhood, I'm never here because I'm always in New Orleans for the Vampire Ball. And now this year we have AMC is sponsoring us. So for the new Interview with the Vampire. So I'm going to be running the Witch's Ball on Friday in New Orleans if everybody's there.
Wow.
But my neighborhood is huge. I live in Hollywood Hills. Right there, we set up hundreds of kids come from outside the hills because they know we do a big party and we close off blocks and stuff. So come on down, anybody with kids and costumes, and the adults dress up, and we even have an adult section. I mean, like adult beverage section and things. So music, blasting.
That's fun. The way it should be. That's the way it should be. Here, you never know when they're going to, we're trick-or-treating on Saturday. We're trick-or-treating on the 29th because it's safer.
Yeah.
It's not Halloween.
No, it's not. We did Halloween, and last year we set up again. I wasn't there, but I see we did a Day of the Dead thing, and they did a huge, real Day of the Dead altar that people really brought their ancestor picture. So that's pretty great for a little neighborhood. I am on the road too. I am leaving tomorrow for New York. I'm going to be anybody in upstate New York, Plattsburgh, for the Dark Waters Paracon. Then I'm going to be in New Orleans for a week for the Witch's Ball, the Vampire Ball. and Babylon and all sorts of things. Then I'm going to be in Massachusetts for Massachusetts Paracon. I have to see you, Courtney.
When is that?
I don't know. It's the first weekend of November. I'm going to be in Massachusetts. We have to get together.
Where in Massachusetts is that?
I don't know.
Someone needs to send me a link. I'm like waving. I'm wagging my clavicle at.
Wag your clavicle. I will be in Massachusetts. It's called Massachusetts Paracon. I don't know where it is. It's not that big.
I will drive. I will come find you.
Yes, we will do that. I'm all over the place. I'm on the road, and I'm probably going to be where you are. I'm going to be in Santa Barbara. I'm going to be in Nevada. I'm going to be in Texas. I'm going to be in Australia. So we have an Australian witch here somewhere. I saw Australian warlock. So anyway, so PattiNegri.com. Please, you guys, if you like this, tell your friends about it. If you want some suggestions and you don't like it, tell us about it and what you would like to see have us add to it. What movies you want. We love your interaction here. Get to all of our social medias, like us, follow us, because that shows you care. No, I feel like those YouTubers I work with, like us, follow us, but yeah, just do what you want to do.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Over here, you're supposed to point at things and do things. I don't know how to do any of that. But I just actually, if you do, my YouTubers, I just had it dropped yesterday with my overnight crew, which are like the #1 paranormal. We did a thing with Meghan Trainor, the pop star Meghan Trainor. We're at Preston Castle in Northern California, and that just dropped yesterday. So that's pretty fun. So anyway,
cool.
Find us. Yeah. It's like, crawling around the floor with a pop star is pretty fun. She's pretty cute. She was very brave until she wasn't. Until she wasn't. So anyway, you guys, thank you. See you next week. So everybody, next week we have the Wizard of Oz. So brush up on your flying monkeys, your good witches, your bad witches, and which side of the world they come from. And our last one now that we have on Practical Magic, again, wands up or femurs up or dachshunds up all the way around, even with the flaws in the film that some of us saw. Thank you guys for adding into this. And so how we're going to end. We're going to end, and we want you guys to join in with us with our cackle, because you got to keep working on your cackle, right? One,
especially this time of year.
Oh wait, should we wear like witch hats next week or something like that? Maybe.
Oh yeah, I've got one. I'm down.
Okay.
Yes.
Witch hats next week, you guys. We want you in them too. So okay, on the count of 3, everybody out there, let's cackle. 1, 2, 3. That's on. All right. Thank you for coming to the Witch's Movie Coven. See you next week. You're all members. Bye.